Nicholas.
Hello.
It is such a treat to see you in front of all of these lovely pictures of your face.
Yes, this is very traumatizing first thing in the morning, just seeing my life in images. But yeah, thanks for all the representation of projects over the years.
I feel like it's a wonderful shrine.
It is. I do actually have one of these back home. Which
I thought
is
so.
nice. Yeah.
I thought so.
House just covered in.
Yeah, we wanted to make you feel like you're at home.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So you've starred in some incredible projects, which we're going to dive into. But let's start off with your very first film, The Beat Beneath My Feet.
Yes, that was a decade ago now, and it was actually such a bizarre couple months of my life because I had gone from having never acted in my life to doing a play at the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh to being scouted and then going on my first audition and booking the lead role. And, I just remember finding out I'd got the role and sort of walking to the park and sort of having a panic attack on a park bench being like, how have I got to this point? This is very surreal, but yeah, it's lovely to kind of look back and see sort of, how different I was. Yeah, little Nick back then.
But I imagine stepping foot on set for the first time must be like a dream. Do you remember the moment that you first really fell in love with acting?
I would definitely say, doing that play, because I think the sense of community and camaraderie and collaboration was incredibly potent, straight away. But then, you jump on a film set and it's extremely different atmosphere to doing theatre and very bitty and technical and the first week of that job was this really interesting crash course in assimilation and but I love the personalities. I think that's the one thing that's remains with every single job is it is really like running away and joining the circus in a way and it must have been, I don't know if I have a distinct moment, but it must have been just somewhere in that job. I really fell in love with it.
If you weren't acting, what do you think you'd be doing?
God knows. So look, this is my plan. I was a bit of a naughty boy in school and I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life, but I had seen this movie called The Motorcycle Diaries. It's all about Che Guevara riding a motorbike around the South American peninsula, and my plan when I left school was to save up money to buy a motorbike and just kind of find myself, I guess, riding around South America and speaking Spanish badly. But I have no idea, to be honest. I'm really lucky that acting found me.
We need you in like a motorbike movie now.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I mean, The Bike Riders, is just coming along. I'm really excited for that as well. So maybe they'll do a sequel. Did
you have a particular film, though, growing up that made you want to act?
Yeah. I mean, there were definite inspirations. Requiem for a Dream was one of my favorites. Memento was one of my favorites. The most complete performance, and I'm still like looking for a replication in terms of thematics of this movie, but the Talented Mr. Ripley, I think, was just cinematographically, all the performances. I think Matt Damon's performance in that movie is so underrated, really. But those I'd say were probably my most like formative movies as a young man.
You have excellent taste.
Thank
You're
you.
listing some of my favourites.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I want to go see my friend.
He is not your friend.
Handsome Devil is such a beautiful film.
Oh, thanks.
I feel like we all need a Mr. Sherry in our lives.
We do.
Who has been the Mr. Sherry of your career? Someone who's always really supported you and had your back.
I think when it comes to maybe an actor, I mean, you mentioned Mr. Sherry, but I mean, working with Andrew Scott on my third movie was surreal, and it's amazing to see just how popular he's become. Obviously Fleabag and all of his other amazing projects and theatre work. I mean, he was definitely an inspiration. I'd say Pierce Brosnan gave me some really amazing words of advice, and Tony Goldwyn as well. I did a really great American project with him, and he's just such a kind, thoughtful man. And I'd say those two.
All legends.
All legends. I've been very, very fortunate.
But your Irish accent in this is so impressive. Very important question. What do you think is the most attractive accent in the UK? Because Timothée Chalamet did say Hull.
Has Timothée Chalamet ever been to Hull?
I think it was when he was filming Wonka or something. It's a bit of him.
I don't want to insult the people of Hull. I'm sure everyone has their own thing. Timmy's is the whole accent. I mean, Irish is definitely, it's up there. I like a Scouse accent, to be honest. It has like a charm to it, I think.
I like Scouse as well. My brother-in-law's Scouse.
There you
It's cheeky. It's like a cheeky
Cheeky.
accent.
You feel very relaxed with a Scouser, I feel like.
The people of Liverpool will be very happy right now. I can almost hear them screaming.
They're a passionate bunch as well, so it's better to be on their good side than their bad side.
We've got to talk about Purple Hearts. Thank you for ripping my heart out with that film. It's an emotional one.
It is.
What are some of your favourite romantic films?
Oh, wow. I mean, there's like that, there's a golden era of rom-coms, with like Notting Hill and Four Weddings at a Funeral and Pretty Woman, I love. If you were to sort of go the more emotional route, I mean, I love Blue Valentine. Actually, it's funny because it is kind of a rom-com, but I think it's actually a love story between a father and a son. About Time is like a movie that just constantly makes me cry. Makes me grateful for my relationship with my father as well. But something on the more light-hearted side is one of Julianne's incredible sort of romantic movies, which is Crazy Stupid Love. I can watch
Classic.
that on repeat. So wholesome.
The twist at the end when they're all like at each other.
Good. It's so good. Such a stacked cast as well.
Are you a crier when it comes to films or TV though?
Oof, I'm actually not, and I'll actually provide an additional answer to the last question, because the last sort of romantic movie that really made me bawl was Past Lives. That movie wrecked me, and I think it was like because I hadn't cried as well watching a movie in a while. I was at one of these sort of awards parties things, and I saw Greta Lee across the room, and I was like, I don't usually. I like to kind of leave people alone at those things, so they hear people complimenting them all day. But I was like, okay, I've got to say something, and I chatted to her for a bit and told her how deeply affected and moved I was by her performance. I really I'm rooting for all of the cast and Celine Song as well. I think it's an astonishing movie.
What have been some of your most surreal moments from events like that, where you're meeting all these people?
Seeing Julianne Moore across the room and going, oh, there's Mum. I'll go and say hi to her. I mean, that's a bit weird, to be honest. And I think there's a tendency is that I've been doing this a while, but I still feel sort of quite young in my career. There's a tendency to feel like you don't belong at those things, and there is this sort of inner circle that feels kind of eternally out of reach. But we were talking before about how kind Julie is, and I think having people that really try and normalize these sort of very bizarre situations, I'm extremely grateful for, and luckily I have a few people now in the industry who are that for me.
I said it yesterday and I'll say it again. She's mother.
She is mother. She is mother. She is.
Get out of the car.
You can't tell me what to do!
Yeah, no, he can't.
Okay, I'm sorry that I looked at Mrs. Riley and lightly grazed her left tit, all right?
Move, you prick!
One of my top 5 films of last year was, of course, Bottoms.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it?
Jeff.
It's
Oh, Jeff.
Poor Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.
Jeff gets a lot of hate, but he was so much fun to play. And I'm such a tiny part of that movie. It's so Io's and Rachel's, and I'm like I'm so pleased that the extreme amount of success and praise they're getting for their amazing comedic timing. But it was such a challenge for me because I'd never done like an out and out comedy like that, and it's really scary, like trying to make people laugh. You almost have to forget all about that and just like be present and tell the truth. And I actually learned a huge amount from both of those amazing young women.
Well, this cast is like my dream friendship group.
Yeah.
Please tell me that you've all got a Bottoms group chat that's still active.
We do. It pops up every now and again, and I've remained close friends with a bunch of the cast. I mean, I love them all, and everyone. Like Kaya Gerber. I mean, who knew? She's had like dry line delivery. It was so great. And Havana Rose Liu, Ruby Cruz. I mean, they're all super talented. I know what you mean. I feel like I'm not cool enough really for the group. You
I
know?
definitely wouldn't be cool enough.
Yeah, I'd be like the kind of the weirdo in the corner who's like the hanger on. But they sometimes return my phone calls, which is
You're in the group chat. You're in there.
barely hanging on by a thread.
Who's the most active member?
I mean, I feel like Io's always like saying something quippy in the chat. Like she's always just posting like just weird articles or something like that. I'm always like trying to schedule meetups and like no one ever responds to me, it was so sad. Yeah, I know.
That
But
breaks my heart.
I'm really just not very cool. That's the issue.
But I feel like that cast, it's like kind of the new it girlies, the new it boys. How much of a joy is it to see the likes of Io and Rachel just like thriving right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so proud of them. I've no right to be because, they've been on this journey well before they knew me. But like, I think it's important to note that, take Io, for example, winning all these awards for The Bear. Like, I mean, she was doing stand-up in empty rooms for many years. She's worked so hard to be where she is, and I'm so immensely proud of the both of them. And I distinctly remember that on set. Rachel was a producer in this project. She was at the Genesis, and she put so much hard work into it. I mean, I was very fortunate where I kind of got to come in and just act ridiculous for a day.
Dick.
Yeah, just be a massive dick for a day. And yeah, I'm really proud of them.
But it must be quite liberating being the dick. And I feel like you've done quite a diverse range of roles. Moving forward, what is on the acting bucket list for you? What's like the dream?
It's funny, Julie and I were talking yesterday about sort of what we kind of look for in roles. And I think one thing that establishes a sense of longevity is versatility in picking your roles, and she is like an expert at that. And I think getting to do a comedy was super rewarding. I think I'm a bit of a sort of sci-fi fantasy nerd as well, so I definitely love to kind of fall into that the sort of genre of it all. Yeah, I mean I like grew up watching Lord of the Rings and Alien and Star Wars and everything. So, something within that world would be really fun.
We need to make this happen.
Yeah,
You and a sci-fi.
Let's manifest it. Come on.
Talking about as thick as it gets.
Just a small film, red, white and royal blue.
Yeah, I did all right, didn't it?
Did okay. Looking back on that film, to know it's had that crazy impact, how does it feel?
You make movies in a kind of a weird vacuum, and you're never really sure how it will be received. A movie could really change in the edit as well. You sign on for the words on the page, and it goes through so many different iterations. And so we obviously knew that there was a fan base because of the book, and we wanted to make them feel gratified in what we'd created. But we were obviously on strike when it came out, both for that movie and for Bottoms. And so just seeing the reaction online and being told about it and how important that movie was for so many people, I think if there was a purpose of why I do the job that I do, it's for those sorts of moments, which is great.
The fandom is just incredible, though.
Yeah.
What are the most common lines you get fans coming up to you saying from that film?
It's definitely. I was told about the. It's kind of half of the line from that movie and half of the line from a line that I have in Bottoms, which where people were sort of comparing when Henry's kind of giving his really heartfelt speech in Kensington Palace, and then it cutting to Jeff saying, "I'm sorry that I grazed Miss Callahan's boobs," and those are the things that people kind of shout at me a lot. Henry's got some good lines. Alex is probably more quippy, but Henry's extremely sincere and heartfelt. So. More sort of speeches rather than like quippy lines.
I mean, the chemistry between you and Taylor is just chef's kiss. What's the most interesting thing about Taylor that we maybe don't know? Aside from that, his eyelashes are extremely long and gorgeous.
Yes, I'm very jealous of his eyelashes. You know that the great thing about Taylor is what you see is what you get. He's extremely authentic and kind and funny and he's just a joy. I mean, he's such a good mate of mine, and we have such a laugh together. I mean, really making that movie was so joyous because, I mean, not only him, the whole cast, we had such a good laugh. But Taylor's he's just a good guy. He's a really good guy.
You've made like a friend for life, the way that you're talking about him,
Yeah.
which must be so special.
It is, and look, I have to say, generally speaking as well, I've been really, really lucky with my co-stars, and I've made some incredible friends. And I think a large part of the joy of what I do is the friendships that I make, and it's actually kind of how I like to work. I don't really like it when you feel like you can't create a sense of community on set, because I think if you have that, it makes the job so much easier as well.
Well, I know that so many people would love to see a sequel. Have you had conversations about that?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have conversations. I think we're all on the same page in the sense that, the script needs to be right, and the sort of all the different components need to be right, because we made something that had such a positive effect. And I think the last thing you'd want to do is ruin that or
100%.
taint that in a way. So, the conversations are definitely being had.
My fingers are crossed.
Okay.
I do not own my home. My children are unwed. We have nothing.
I haven't had a life recently because I've been so hooked on Mary and George.
I love that. I love that for you.
You and Julianne kill it in these roles. What would you say has been one of your most challenging roles to date? Because I feel like you are giving everything in this.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say actually, Mary and George. I think we had so little time to prep it, and English TV moves very quickly, and with George having to sort of embody this Renaissance man, who goes off to France and learns how to speak French, how to ride horses, how to dance, how to fence. It was trying to find hours in the day really to kind of pick up these skills. And I mean, it's the most fun thing about acting is the skills that you learn for the job. But over a 6-month shoot, it was really grueling, but so gratifying. I just remember that feeling on the last day of immense pride at what we'd made, and you never know how a show is going to be received by audiences. So the thing that you do take is the effort that you put into creating the thing.
What's the coolest thing you can now do because of the skill that you've learned on shoot?
I'd say riding horses is pretty cool. I'm a bit of a horse boy. I
love that.
Yeah, I've got to ride on a few projects, and I really want to do a Western in the future. But I had a really lucky situation where I was taught to ride on a stallion, which are like the most difficult types of horses to ride on because they're very emotional, and so I felt like I was thrown in the deep end now, and it's just like such a joy and such an ease every time I get to just hop on a horse and play pretend.
And a lot of actors lie about that, the fact that they can horse ride, and you don't need to do that now.
But also, that is a really stupid thing to do. Horses, if you don't know how to ride them, are really dangerous. So I don't know why anyone would lie about that. They have more confidence in their ability to learn a skill quickly if they do. But yeah, don't lie about riding horses. I think that's the lesson.
So Bryan Cranston once told me that he said he is an abseiler, that he regularly abseils off buildings to get his first commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever lied to get a job?
Never. As Julie says in the show, I have never told a lie. If I say no, that just implies that I'm like naturally gifted, which
You're the
is not,
golden boy.
which is not the
golden
case.
boy.
But God, I'm sure I have at some point. I've lied to not get a job as well. I've lied to not go to auditions before.
That's
in the past.
interesting.
It's funny because James McAvoy actually did an interview that kind of encouraged this sense of honesty in me, because he said he lied about really not wanting to go to auditions and making up these ridiculous excuses. My agents, found me out a couple of times and told me off. But I'm reformed now. I'm a reformed liar.
But I imagine working with Julianne was just a dream. What's something you were able to take away from her as a scene partner that will always stay with you from this job?
I think she keeps a level of lightness even before a heavy scene, which I think is really useful, because if you go to a dark place and kind of stay there throughout the day, then your energy just kind of drops through the floor, and you got to maintain a pace, because, I've done crying scenes where you were literally crying, 15 times in a row. And sometimes it's like 5 a.m. in the morning. And that's what people, I think, maybe don't appreciate about movie making and TV making is it's a marathon, and you're performing at really unusual times that are not conducive to being emotionally fluent a lot of the time. And so, watching Judy do that, I think she's like incredibly technical, which people don't, imagine about her. Obviously it's all about accessing emotion and showcasing that on screen, but she can move her body in a really, really subtle way, and it just completely changed the sort of energy of a scene, which is really interesting.
Is there something that you wish you knew back on your first job that you know now?
Oh my God, like everything. I was so green. I didn't even know what a mark was. I was just trying to absorb, as much as I could. The lesson that I think I've learned, which is the most important, is, once you got the lines and everything, just like throw away the scene. Whatever's written in terms of stage directions or whatever, like you don't have to do anything. Just listen and be present. And it kind of manifests itself, without you trying to force it too much.
Solid advice. I mean, I'm not an actor, but I will take it.
Maybe after today, you might consider a career.
You never know. I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't mention the idea of you.
Yeah.
Because you've just worked with one of my heroes, the Queen of Genovia, Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, I'm sure she'd love. If there hath a will, there hath a way. That's what I say.
She's not Anne Hathaway to me. She's always Anne Hathaway. Always.
I love that.
How excited are you to share this one?
I'm so excited. I mean, we're so excited about the project. We're always texting, sort of counting down the days until we're going to be in South by Southwest together, and the movie releases soon after that. And we put a lot of love into the movie, and I think people really need something light and fun and loving, and I think we really hit kind of the emotional spectrum within the movie. And I think, Annie and I have such great chemistry. It was apparent very quickly, and such good friendship now. And I think that's really like showcased on screen, which is exciting.
Were you a fan of the book?
I mean, I didn't know about it before the project, but then I read it, and I think, it has such a distinct tone, and we tried to sort of emulate some of that, obviously, while making something new and changing the characters in sort of subtle ways. But just the notion that this movie promotes female pleasure as the sort of protagonist, I think is really interesting and unique, and obviously displays an age gap love that we don't usually see on screen between a younger man and an older woman. So it was very exciting in that way as well.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Thanks.
It has been such a pleasure chatting to you.
Too.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.